Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Mortal Kombat video. Now before this video starts, I just want to say thank you to everyone supporting me with the Mortal Kombat content that I'm now going to be putting out. You guys seem to really like it, and personally for me it's a great return to form. Now with Mortal Kombat 11 possibly being on the horizon here, I wanted to talk about the characters that we could possibly see in the Mortal Kombat 11 game. So I'll be splitting this video into two separate parts. For this one I'll be talking about the Mortal Kombat X roster and which characters there will more than likely make it over into the 11 roster, and then in the part 2 video I'll be talking about the NPC and other characters who may make it into the new game. So I'll be talking about characters from games like Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance and Deception, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit of Armageddon. Anyway, for this video I'll be talking about the Mortal Kombat X roster and kind of writing off characters that will be on the roster and ones that won't. Anyway, on that note, let's actually get on to talking about the roster. Now first off, let's remove all the guest characters. They're only kind of put in here for cross promotion as a great way of bringing up sales not only in this game but in the box office when their films do drop, as Alien was included here for Alien Covenant, Predator was put on here for his own Predator film but that was pushed later down the line, Jason for another Friday the 13th film but I'm pretty sure that film was scrapped at the beginning of 2017, and Leatherface who had his own film come out like last year sometime, so they were put in here with the thought in mind that it would help promote said film. Now I'll be going from left to right talking about the possibility of each of the characters we see here. So first off, let's talk about Kung Lao. Now Lao in terms of story is in a very weird place. With Quan Chi and Shinnok now being gone, it seems like the Revenants in this game now have the ability of free will, meaning that they can do whatever they so happen to choose, which is quite interesting when you take into account Arcade Ladder ending, where we find out that he's trying to cure himself of his Revenant-like state. And this ending's also somewhat intertwined with Kung Jin's, so we also see that he kind of goes on his own quest here to cleanse his soul, meaning that he could indeed not feature in this game. But we also need to take into account his popularity, so I personally think leaving out this character would be an extremely bad idea, because he most definitely has become an iconic character of the series. So I will say that Lao might make it into the game, but it isn't entirely solid in stone. Now onto our next character here, Jax. Now this character I see featuring in the game as an NPC or playing a very minor role in this game. Now the reason I say this is because in Mortal Kombat X, he clearly doesn't want to be associated with the Special Forces. It's taken a toll on his body and his family life, so it only actually features in the story to help out his daughter. And this is where Arcade Ladder endings come into play as well. We see in two separate different character endings that Jax is somewhat hinted at to die. Now yes, you can take these Arcade Ladder endings with a grain of salt, but when Arcade Ladder endings hint at an idea more than twice, there may be some form of validity to them. So if Jax is going to feature in this game, he may just be there to get kind of killed off, which is something I do highly suspect here, as it is Mortal Kombat and characters do get killed off from time to time. That's not saying that they can't be kind of brought back from the dead. So with his story arc kind of all wrapped up, I don't see any reason for him to kind of feature in this game, and if he does, then we kind of know why. Now the next character to talk about is Sonya Blade, who has actually been a staple of the series, but with the introduction of her younger daughter Cassie and her story arc kind of being wrapped up, I don't actually see Sonya appearing in the game's actual roster, but more so as an NPC and a character that works behind the lines, because outside of being Cassie's mother and bitching at Johnny, she doesn't really have anything to do with the story besides being like the driving force behind the Special Forces. So I do highly suspect that a lot of her moves will be added to Cassie's arsenal, as she is a new generation character and they'll obviously want to carry some stuff across. Plus, if we're talking about the Cage family, Sonya is definitely the weakest of the three, especially when you take into account the wit and charisma and personality of Cassie and Johnny. So I don't really expect to see her appear in this game. Now Kenchi is a fan favorite, there's absolutely no denying that, which made it extremely painful when you take into account that he didn't actually have his own chapter in Mortal Kombat X, being one of the few Earthrealm characters to in fact not have it, which again does lead to me kind of suspecting that he might have the same rule applied to him like Sonya will, but there is a loose plot thread with Su Chin. For those of you who didn't read the comics, Kenchi got with a Thai woman known as Su Chin, they had a child known as Takeda, and during this time Kenchi was working undercover with the Red Dragons, and Su Chin was killed because of this. After that he would take Takeda to Hanzo Hisashi so he could tutor him, and from that point onwards it's been continuously hinted at that the two will end up working together to track down Su Chin's killer. So this story arc definitely does seem to be in the pipeline, but of the hints we've been getting for Mortal Kombat 11, it may seem like this story arc will get pushed over to the side, meaning that Kenchi might also get pushed over to the side because of it. And in the worst case scenario, if he doesn't actually make it into the game, you can probably expect Takeda to gain a lot of his moves. So I'd say it's 50-50 for the chances of Kenchi actually making it in here. Now we have Katana, and no doubt in my mind she'll be in here. The story implications of her being part of a deadly alliance with Liu Kang make her extremely viable for this game. Along with her massive popularity with fans, it's quite viable to say that this character's appearance is kind of a given when it comes to individuals who will actually be in the game. Now the next two characters I'm just going to quickly put in a bundle here together because the two are the poster children of the series, Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I mean, their popularity alone allows them to be involved in this game. Now as for what they'll be doing in terms of story, we don't quite know. It's been hinted at that Scorpion will align himself with Raiden as he wishes to redeem himself for killing Kenchi and preventing the savior of the other revenants, as he was one himself for a very long time. Now Sub-Zero's role in the story is going to be kind of unknown, but it does seem that ever since becoming the Grandmaster of the Link Way, he's definitely taken on more of a teacher role, so they may try to reinvent the plot line between him and Frost, since Sub-Zero was included in Injustice 2 and was given a ton of extra moves. So yes, as you can tell, I do suspect Frost might play a role in this story, and some of the moves we see from Injustice 2 carry across to Mortal Kombat 11. Now here's an interesting one, Molina. As much as I do like this character and her kind of eccentric and sexy personality, I doubt she'll be in this game as she literally became bug food in the last one. But in saying that, I think they're going to try something different and unique with the character. Maybe a more perfected version of Molina, as she is an artificial created being by Shang Shung in his flesh pits. So they may try to create a new timeline version of Molina or something. Of course, that's just an idea off the bat, but it is a rather interesting and cool one to kind of put out on the table. So really, I don't see Molina returning in Mortal Kombat 11, but possibly in the next game, as they'll most likely just keep her out for one and bring her back in the next one to appease fans and bring people in. Now we're on a new generation character, Takeda. Now for many reasons here, I'm gonna say yes, because out of all of the new generation characters that were put into the game, Takeda was definitely the most popular. Plus with a solid backstory that was written for him in the comics, taking him out the game would be a very bad idea, especially since he's still kind of a new character. Plus if Kenchi actually doesn't feature in this game, they may want to implement some of his moves over to someone else, and who else better would that be than his own son? So yeah, quite safe to say that this character will make it in the game. Now the next character we have is Cassie Cage. Again, like Takeda, a new generation character, and being the child of Sonya Blade and Johnny, she naturally does have a lot of high expectations to live up to. Ones that she did live up to in MKX, but the plot armor was kind of overkill. So naturally some people are 50-50 of this character actually being in the game, but again, I'll go back to if Sonya's out, then Cassie will adopt her moves, and since she was the individual to take down the big bad at the end of MKX, it's pretty much guaranteed that she'll be in this one. Now on to Jackie Briggs. Again, just like I've said before, new generation character, and maybe someone to inherit Jax's moveset later down the line, or maybe in Mortal Kombat 11 itself. Now the reason why I didn't mention Cassie's story too much is because she's clearly been established, whereas Jackie is just kind of there. Yes, there is quite a high likelihood that she'll be in this game, but she hasn't been given a lot of development since the established new timeline. So maybe this might be an opportunity to kind of work with her if Jax is killed off. But of course, that in itself is a theory if it does happen. But I do highly suspect that she'll be in this game. Now on to Kung Jin. Now I've been quite vocal about my disdain to this character, but for the purposes of making this list kind of accurate, I'm going to put my gripes aside and talk about him in a unbiased fashion. Now in terms of story, I'm quite interested to see what they do with Jin here, as we all hinted at in his arcade ladder ending that he actively went out to seek his cousin Kung Lao and kind of help him deal with his revenant form by assisting him in regaining his humanity. How is something we don't quite know, so we have to wait and see what they kind of do with these two individuals. For all we could know, they could go on like some kind of pilgrimage or something that helps cleanse Lao's soul. So I say the chances of Kung Jin actually making it into the game are about just as likely as Jackie's or Takeda's, since there's clearly a plot thread that isn't quite yet wrapped up. Now on to Tanya. Tanya I don't really see playing a role in this game. She's always played a role as kind of a side character and not someone that's played too prominent of a role. She's never been too intertwined with the main story, so in many ways she is somewhat an expendable character, and she doesn't really have a feud with Jade at the moment because Jade is kind of absent. So there's really nothing going on with the character, and she did feature as DLC for MKX, so I don't think that she'll be featured here. But Raicho on the other hand is a completely different topic. In his arcade ladder ending, we learn that he has somewhat a bit of a change of heart towards Raiden. You see, these two go very far back, and in Raiden's chapter you can see how the two are associated and are friends. So if this somewhat anti-hero persona that Raiden's kind of taken on, where he aggressively kind of enforces his law, I could see a rift opening up between him and Bo Rai Cho, because if some of you don't know, Bo Rai Cho actually originates from Outworld, and despite that, he has taught numerous students how to defend Earthrealm. So if the possible danger of Raiden attacking his homeworld, it may seem like Bo will side with Outworld for this fight, if said plotline does go as planned, but it creates a very interesting form of conflict between two former friends. Now from the bottom left to right, the first person we have is Shinnok. The guy's a vegetable, so it's definitely a no. Kano is a very interesting one, because in the original timeline, the Black Dragon clan kind of fizzle out, and Kano himself is not doing business with Earthrealm or Outworld for that matter, as Outworld is under control by Kotal, and Kotal really doesn't like Kano. So with a lot of bridges kind of burned, I don't really see him making it into this game. I don't really see what he could do story-wise. However, that's what leads up to his arcade ladder ending, where we in fact learn that he has a son. Now again, arcade ladder endings aren't entirely set in stone, but there are always aspects of them that do come to fruition. So maybe a new leader of the Black Dragon will arise, and maybe create new alliances for the organization. Plus it'd be interesting to see what Kano's son is like going up against Cassie, since Kano and Sonya hate each other, and we can see whether or not these grudges kind of pass down to their children. It'd make for some interesting conflict in the story. So I'm gonna have to say no for Kano, for the sole aspect that Mortal Kombat is clearly trying to evolve with a newer generation of characters, and it seems like the newer generation of characters are taking bits and tips from their parents in order to kind of fit that mold that they did. Now our next character is Johnny Cage. Yeah, this one I can definitely see being in the game due to how big and popular his fandom is. Now unlike Sonya, this guy has charisma and is out on the front line, unlike Sonya who prefers to work at the headquarters of the special forces. And I mean, Johnny Cage is really iconic to the series, so I believe it's very safe to say that Johnny will be in this one. Now our next character is Erron Black. Now this is a very interesting one, as he is a somewhat still new generation character, but really wasn't utilized due to kind of how the story was put together, as it was from Earthrealm's perspective. But with the possibility of the story kind of shifting to an Outworld perspective, it may put him in the limelight more. I'm going to say Erron Black will be in the game due to his popularity and the fact that Kotal does need allies in his battle against Earthrealm. Now onto our next character, I'm going to say yes straight away because it's Liu Kang. The reasons are basically the same as I've said for Katana, the hint of them being the new Deadly Alliance, and his fandom kind of instantly get him in the game. That and the fact he was considered as the main hero in the original timeline. Now we're on to Ermac, and this is a very interesting one, as the character has never played a massive role in the series, but has definitely become a face that is recognized by the fans. But you know who else is recognized by fans? Shang Shung, one of the iconic villains of the series. You can probably tell where I'm going with this. In Ermac's arcade ladder ending, we find out that one of the souls that are in fact within him is Shang Tsung, and Shang Tsung's able to drain him dry of his energy, effectively killing him but giving birth to Shang Tsung. Now again, I'll apply the whole arcade ladder ending rule, but do keep in mind if this didn't happen, then in Mortal Kombat 11 we wouldn't even have one member of the original Deadly Alliance in the game, and we'd kind of be lacking a somewhat true sorcerer. Now the next character is Kotal. This one's a definite yes, as it's been clearly established that he will be coming into direct conflict with Raiden, and Shao Kahn is still kind of out of the picture, so I don't see Kotal going anywhere anytime soon. Reptile I can see being in the game, as again he does have a massive fandom behind him, and with Deception around the corner they might be trying to hint that he'll become the new Dragon King, despite there being a much more viable candidate for that role, which is none other than Prince Goro. So I think they'll constantly be trying to hint at him becoming the Dragon King in the game, so it'd be quite fun teaser, and Kotal needs allies like I mentioned with Erron Black. So now let's talk about Ferrator. This charismatic duo were a very fun addition to the game, but again, much like Erron Black, was heavily underutilized. So I think everything that I needed to say about Erron Black can kind of also apply to Ferrator, but I'm interested to see what they tweak up here, because in the arcade ladder ending they kind of hint that Tor dies and Ferra kind of becomes a Tor. It's really weird, there's not a lot of detail about like their symbiotic bond, so if Tor does die and Ferra does become a Tor, maybe we might learn more through Tor's death. Who knows, we just have to wait and see. Next character to talk about is Devorah, and she'll pretty much be absent from the game. She kind of did her main plot role in MKX, and since that plan kind of failed, she doesn't really have anything else to do plot wise, so she's probably gonna get pushed over to the side and get brought back in a later game. Now next character, and this one's pretty much guaranteed, is Raiden. I mean, I've talked so much about him here, do I really need to explain much? Alright, I'll give you a very brief summary. With the seeming dark and kind of anti-hero stance he's taken, Raiden is showing off a bit of a ruthless streak that we haven't seen in a long while. I say in a long while because he became Dark Raiden in the original timeline. Now it does seem here like they're going to be a little bit more tame, opposing to him resurrecting the dead body of Liu Kang, but here it seems like he wants to put Earthrealm's safety first before anything, even if that means subjugating and attacking other realms to do so. So he may inadvertently paint himself as the villain of this game. So yeah, Raiden pretty much confirmed for MK11. There's no doubt in my mind. Kenchi's not going to be in it, he got turned to paste. Goro pre-order bonus, I don't really see him being in the game unless MK11's going to be a mash of Deadly Alliance and Deception. If it's kind of a mix of the two, then you can kind of see Goro up to a certain extent, but he is at this point destined to be the new Dragon King host. So I don't know, we have to see what kind of goes on there. Tremor is a character I can't help but feel is getting the Scarlet treatment, in the sense that it's a one and done DLC, and after being kind of released, they're just going to push him off the shelf a little bit, and I do have a really bad feeling he's going to fade into obscurity, because the problem that Scarlet suffered from was the same thing that Tremor suffered from, which was a new fresh character put into the game as DLC with little to no backstory to kind of work with, so you kind of don't know what's going to happen with them here. So for MK11, I'm going to have to say no to Tremor, unfortunately, just due to the fact that I and probably the writers don't know what to do with the character. The last and final one is one that I do want to happen but will most likely not happen at all, is the Triborg. I'm a massive fan of Sector, Cyrax and Smoke, but with the Cyber Initiative essentially being completely destroyed and Sub-Zero removing all traces of the Cyber Initiative, I can't really see them coming back, but I genuinely like to see Triborg get implemented in some form of way, or any of the three fighting styles that we see in the Triborg variation, because I do adore their movesets. So the chances of Triborg being in MK11 are unfortunately very slim. But yeah, that's kind of it for this video, guys. It's been a really long one. This is not going to be fun to edit, I can tell, but I hope for the most part you guys have enjoyed it, as you lot do seem to enjoy the Mortal Kombat content returning to this channel. What returning characters do you guys want to see, as I'm interested what everyone has to say. But yeah, that's kind of it for this video, guys. Now if possible, before it wraps up, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of helping out this channel since YouTube's ad system is broken as hell, so by giving it a thumbs up it helps out a ton. And if you want to go the extra step, we also have a Patreon set up, and a link for that will be down in the description below. Anyway guys, as always, please comment, like, subscribe and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.